the Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Risky, along with Ryan Stuprich, and on the line we have Tony from Naperville. Tony, how's it going?
Good. How you Ryans doing?
Doing very well.
Yep.
Still waiting to hear the official word from the Bears if John Fox gets hired.
Yeah, I guess they outlets backed off a little bit from the earlier report, but I think it's his job if he wants it.
All right, so what's on your mind today?
Well, I noticed that Anthony Rizzo told reporters today that the Cubs are going to win the Central Division this year. So I was trying to put together the lineup, and try to see if it's good enough to win the division. And I was going to do it as of about May 1st and assume that Chris Bryant has just been called up from AAA. So let's just first pick who's going to be at each position and try to make a lineup out of them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Catcher, Montero most of the time.
Yep.
Other than with David Ross, and hopefully they trade Castillo.
Yeah, well, there's no room for poor Castillo anymore. So maybe they could package them with Edwin Jackson.
Like, here, we don't want any.
I don't think anyone's stupid enough to take Edwin Jackson, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't want anything in return.
Yeah,
we would throw in a draft pick.
we don't want Edwin. You don't need to give us anything in return for this.
No.
So, all right. First base, Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, that's got to be the most obvious one out of any position.
Right.
Yeah. Second base, let's call it Javi Baez.
Yep.
And shortstop, Castro.
Yeah, hopefully he can continue to have a good year like he did in 2014.
Yeah, we just have to keep him out of the Dominican Republic.
Right, he has gotten in trouble a few times down there. He's been involved in some things. But
Two shootings.
Yeah, he's had bad luck. They keep shooting and killing people in the car next to him.
Right.
Conveniently.
So let's say Chris Bryant, when they bring him up, Valbuena plays third base most of the time the first month, but then Bryant slips in there May 1st.
And then they got Valbuena as a utility guy coming off of the bench who can pinch hit and work a walk or work along at bat when he pinch hits late in the game.
Yeah, I think he'd be good as a utility guy. I think he'd be more effective as a utility guy than an everyday third baseman.
Right, and a good pinch hitter.
Yeah, he has all the qualities of a really good super sub.
Yeah.
And, all right, let's go right field, Soler.
Yep, Soler should be there every day.
Center field, probably Alcantara.
Bearing a trade for Dexter Fowler, which there was some report that the Cubs could be interested in him.
Yeah, I heard that. That's kind of interesting.
The only thing is he's always injured.
Yeah, he is always injured, and although I guess the good thing is if they do get him, you have some other utility guys that can play out there. So
right, so yeah, right now it's Alcantara's job to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Alcantara. He hit .310 at Iowa last year. He has the potential to steal bases, hit 15 home runs, have a reasonably high batting average, say at least 270, and he has real potential. So left field, I think that's a platoon between Chris Coughlin and Kristen Orfia.
Right, or potentially Junior Lake or Johnny Gomes.
Lake, I don't have a place for Junior.
Yeah, and Sweeney could also play in center field unless he's still with the team, right?
Yeah, he is. He's got a contract. I read that Junior Lake has been in a walk machine in the Winter League that he's been playing in.
Okay, well, it's fine if he earns a spot in center or somewhere else. I'm all for it. But for now, we'll say he's on the bench.
Right.
Okay. All right, we have our lineup. Leadoff hitter, we don't have a natural leadoff hitter, so I think you got the left fielders.
I think Coughlin would probably be the leadoff hitter when he's playing.
I would say so.
Because he makes such solid contact.
Yeah, he does. And Norfia, prior to 2014, he always had a good on-base average, and I have a feeling they're going to get a lot of production between these two guys. Coghlan facing the righties, Denorfia facing the lefties. So,
right.
Number 2, they had Baez there a lot last year, and that's just not the spot for him.
No, I think his job is to drive in the runs, not get on base for guys to drive in runs.
Right. I guess you would put Starlin Castro.
I think that's a better spot for him because remember last year he was batting cleanup most of the time, and when Chris Bryant's there and Soler's there, they don't really need him batting cleanup.
So you think Javier Baez would probably bat 4th or 5th?
I'd say probably maybe 6th.
6th, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I agree. I think Castro's a natural for number 2, and he's not a natural cleanup hitter. He was there out of necessity. Well, let's move him up to number 2, and Rizzo will stay as the 3rd guy in the order. So then you kind of have a choice between Soler and Bryant for cleanup. And I doubt they'd want to throw Bryant into the cleanup spot right away.
Right, and Soler was batting cleanup at the end of the year when Castro got injured. And
That's right.
Was hitting well, so he'd probably start out the season there.
All right, so we got Soler 4th, probably Bryant 5th, because I think he'd come in ahead of Baez. I think they're going to put Baez down a little bit in the order.
Yeah, take some pressure off of him.
Right.
But let's say he's 6th after Bryant. So you got Montero and Alcantara left, and I think Alcantara would make a good 8.
Yes, I think so too.
Hitter. So Montero slides into number 7, Alcantara number 8, and pitcher number 9. So could that lineup win a division when we have a pretty solid bullpen last year, plus Jason Mott?
Right, and plus a good starting pitching as well.
Right.
Yeah, you got Lester, Arrieta, Hamill,
Hendricks.
and Hendricks for the top 4. Then you got about 5 guys fighting for the 5th starter spot.
Yeah. It could be Felix Dubront. It could be Tsuyoshi Wada. It could be Travis Wood. There's a lot of options.
Right, and you have to figure.
Right, Jacob Turner. I mean, you still got Edwin Jackson.
Sadly.
And so there's a lot of guys fighting for that number 5 spot, and 1 or 2 of them would probably go to middle relief, and I'm not sure if there's room for any more middle relievers after that.
Right, because you'd have to figure that between Wood, Dubron, and Wada, you'd want one of them in the rotation, then you'd throw 2 of them in the bullpen to have a good lefty.
Yeah, so I mean, the team looks pretty good. You can't predict what all the young guys are going to do, but I don't think Brian will have a big learning curve like Baez has had.
Right, yeah, I've read that Bryant's he's like big league ready, and he was at the end of last year.
And then in 2016, we could see Addison Russell, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Because I don't know if he's going to be there at all this year, unless they don't have a good year and they use him as a September call-up or something.
Although you never know. He could force the issue from AAA, too.
If he's batting like 400 in AAA or something, maybe.
Yeah, he's only 21 years old, so you don't want to, overdo. I mean, he's being pushed already.
Right.
Just to be in Double-A last year, and then he finished in Double-A, but go to Triple-A this year. He really should. I'm sure Epstein wants him to play a whole season there, because he'll still be only 22 in 2016, and that's really young these days.
Right, and you said, I believe Scott Boras is his agent as well.
Yeah, Scott Boras is the agent for Addison Russell, for Chris Bryant, for Billy McKinney, for Arrieta, for Coghlan. The Cubs will have to get him his own office at Wrigley Field.
Right.
Yeah, Almora. Yeah, I read that with arbitration talks with Arrieta. He said from what he's heard, there's been absolutely nothing going on with a contract extension.
Yeah, and I heard Boris, all he wants is to start the talks at $100 million.
Start at $100 million and go from there, I guess. I don't know.
Well, he said the start in negotiations for a Bryce Harper extension, the starting is 12 years, $300 million, and he won't even listen if there's anything below those 2 numbers. And it's not like the guy's been playing very well either.
Right.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's been very good, but he hasn't been a superstar. But he still could be. but you can't pay him $300 million just based on potential. And Arrieta, he's in a position where it's very difficult to negotiate a long-term extension for him because he only has 1 year that his body of work is really outstanding. So I'm sure the Cubs, before they commit a lot of long-term money to him, want to see how he does this year.
Yeah.
Right, and go along with the fact that he's also 28.
Yeah, he's been around. And so you have to make sure he's the real thing. He sure looked like it.
Yeah, he really did. That didn't look like... I mean, because he was missing bats. It wasn't like there's a bunch of, just a batting average on balls and play was down. He was striking guys out all the time, and he led the majors in games that he took a perfect game into the 5th inning.
Yeah, he was good. 3 no-hitters into the 7th inning. And so based on what we know in this lineup, how do you guys think the Central Division will end up? Who's first, second, third, fourth, fifth?
I think the Reds are going to finish last in the division.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, I hope so, because that means the Cubs won't.
Yeah, I think the Brewers will finish in 4th just because I think they were better than they should have been last year.
Yeah, they overachieved.
Yeah, that they overachieved for sure, and they lost a couple guys too. That they lost Marco Estrada. He's with Toronto now, I think.
Yeah, except they got Adam Lind to play first base, and they didn't have a first baseman last year.
That's true. So I think maybe their offense will be a little bit of a better thing, but I think their defense went way down, and I mean I'm not so sure about Ryan Braun. He hasn't been good since he's been doing steroids. So.
Yeah, he only hit 19 home runs last year.
Yeah, it was still good, but yeah, not for his contract. It wasn't good enough.
Right.
But okay, so we got Cardinals, Pirates, Cubs left.
I think I'm going to go with the Pirates next. I just don't think that they have enough to get to that next level because they won't be able to be winning all these games against the Cubs next year.
Right, and they do have Andrew McCutchen as their star, but other than that, I think the Cubs' offensive lineup can contend with the Pirates a little bit, and I'm not so sure about the Pirates' staff. I think their staff is very shaky right now.
It's more of that they don't really have they have a bunch of number 2s and 3s and 4 kind of starters, and we don't know how the Russell Martin effect will happen because he was good at a good defensive catcher. He was able to call a good game.
And Alvarez won't have nearly as good of a year as he had last year.
Yeah, Alvarez was horrible last year.
But he did good at the end there.
Martin, and he had a career year. They can't replace it no matter who their catcher is.
Right, and the way he handled the pitching staff. So that's another thing, being able to call a good game. I don't even think they know who their catcher is yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they have a good minor league system, so they may have a couple guys coming up. But, all right, I agree they could be third. Now you have the Cardinals and the Cubs. It's hard to envision the Cubs going from last to first. I'd probably call them the second-place team.
I would probably agree with you there. The one thing that will be the determining factor most likely between who finishes in first, though, is probably your division record or head-to-head record against each other.
Right.
Right. It'll determine a lot.
Yeah, and of course, Joe Madden in 2008, he took the Tampa Bay Rays from worst to first, and then they went all the way to the World Series. But I'm not sure if if you can do that twice. I think Joe Madden, for the Cubs to win the division, a lot of it has to be with Joe Madden sort of out-managing other guys in his division, like Mike Matheny and Clint Hurdle. But we'll have to see what happens.
All right, so we got the Cubs first or second, but we'll call. We don't want to put too much pressure on and be overconfident.
Right.
Either, so we'll call them second, and Cardinals first. So we'll get a wild card.
Right, and we don't even know the Cardinal. There's a rumors going around that the Cardinals are either going to trade for Cole Hamels or sign Scherzer or Shields right now, so they might not have even completed their team yet.
Yeah, that's a little scary if they get Scherzer or something.
Yeah, they strike out of the blue sometimes, and I'm sure they are working and reworking the salary numbers, trying to figure out a way to bring in a Shields or a Scherzer. But,
Right, 'cause-
no way they bring in Scherzer